This is Stephen Kotler, and you're listening to Your Superior Self.
Hi, I'm Anita Murjani, and this is Your Superior Self.
This is Christina Rasmussen, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, Cultural Creatives. I'm Bruce Lipton, and I'm here to join you with Your Superior Self.
Hi, this is Paul Selig, and this is Your Superior Self.
What's up, everybody? I'm Aubrey Marcus, and this is Your Superior Self.
Beautiful people. What is up, guys? Thank you guys so much for joining the show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Trey Downs, and this is Your Superior Self. Thank you for taking the time to hang out with me today. Thank you for downloading this episode. If this is your first time listening, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It helps me scale the show. If this is not your first rodeo, thank you for coming back. Thank you for all your contributions to our community. Make sure to share, because the more that we share, the bigger the community becomes, and that is just more energy towards our mission of awakening that inner power of ourselves. Yes, it's real. And to prove, no, I shouldn't say prove, but to help support that hypothesis, that group energy is way stronger than anything out there, I have Marcela Lobos, the author of the new hit book, Awakening Your Inner Shaman, joining the show today to help me in awakening that power inside of you that I know is there, that you might not believe in, but it is there. And our conversation is powerful. It is very, very powerful. We are on the same wavelength, and I'm a big fan of what she does, her work, her story. And here's a little clip to get you started.
If we can listen when there's a whisper in our lives that says, okay, there's something more fulfilling for you in this lifetime, why don't you go and find what that is? And then you can go easy. You can, it's like a plane. You can go in a Boeing, in a big jet, in a big Boeing 777 or so forth, and make a very slow and steady turn in your life so your drink doesn't spill and you don't get all dizzy and all that stuff. My turn was so rapid and I spilled everything. I lost my husband. I lost
you lost your children for a bit too, right?
Also, I lost everything because I got to the point of crisis. So when we're in crisis, when we wait too long to hear that voice, to say yes to that path, sometimes we manifest an illness or really something big that makes us lose a lot. So I encourage everybody to start listening while you can make the changes slowly with your situation, planning, and so forth, because it's going to be less painful.
Very painful. Oh, yes. And you'll hear why. Marcela has been through the ringer when in her early life she was trapped in an abusive marriage with 2 children and literally no options. And she had to make a change. And she did. And this book is her story, and it's amazing and it's beautiful. I know a lot of you will relate to this book, and I want to hear about it. So go to traydowns.com, leave me a message. Let me know your thoughts on it. Let me know your thoughts on where you're at in your path. I want to hear about that. I want to hear about what it is you're struggling with. What is it that, is there a guest that I can bring on that will help you with that topic or with that subject in your life? I would love to know if there's people that I can draw in to help you guys more so in your path. And then go to TDowns80 on Instagram. Follow me over there. Leave me a message over there. It's the only social media that I'm on. I don't deal with the other stuff, the other negativity out there. And then head over to abandonedchildrensfund.org. It is my sacred activism to bring more awareness about this foundation and what it's doing. It's helping abandoned children around the world in underprivileged countries, bring them in, show them love, give them care, give them food, give them clothing, give them some type of structure, give them attention, give them this feeling that they are wanted, and help grow them in their lives so that they can feel a part of this world, so they can be a part of the community, so they can be a part of this ever-changing moment, so they can be a part of everything that we are part of, that we are a part of this collective consciousness. I know you guys are ready, so here, without further ado, is the great and powerful Marcela Lobos.
My name is Marcela Lobos, and this is Your Superior Self.
Marcela, I don't know if you're aware, but I am very excited about this conversation. I love your book, Finding Your Inner Shaman. It resonates with me a lot, even though it's wrapped around shamanism. I mean, your journey's in it, but it's interwoven with all the fun literature about Carl Jung and shamanism and mystical stories, and it's just so beautifully written. Thank you, one, for joining the show, and I cannot wait to talk to you. Two, what inspired you to write this book?
Thank you. Well, I did have a very curious mind growing up, and I grew up in Western society, and I went to actually journalism school. So I graduated as a journalist. And then I actually fell into my dark night of the soul on my own quest of self-discovery, who I am really deep inside, and what is my strength and what is my wisdom, and so forth. So along that path, I actually went deep into all the shamanic traditions, and not just shamanic, but spiritual. And I was deeply initiated in especially in the Andean tradition of shamanism. And then it's funny how, as I wrote this book, I started being more and more curious about the gifts of the West, Western society, as I discovered that we have been cut from our roots. So from our connection to the earth and embodied spiritual life, because we were taught to look up to the heavens for God. And we forgot about the feminine divine, and definitely about, as we say in South America, in the Andes, Quechua Andes, Pachamama, Mother Earth. So I had to do that inner alchemy of reconnecting to Mother Earth, and in recovering my roots and my own deep spirituality, I became curious about, okay, so the Western people, we were cut off, but then what did we do in between? And that's when I tap into depth psychology a little bit amateurly, out of my own investigations and curiosity and a few mentors, but I did not go to school for that, but I did read a lot and research a lot. And I found it very, very valuable because I saw that in these traditional societies, though there were very powerful shamans that can manifest amazing things from the thin air, from the invisible world. Sometimes at home they were alcoholics and abusive and so forth. So I really started appreciating the whole Western development of psychology, especially Carl Jung, with looking at our shadows, and then so as someone says also, so we have to also grow up, not just awaken and show up, but grow up as people, not be kids, and act like adults and responsible at home and in everywhere we go, really.
Yeah. Well, I've been trying to break that paradigm, right? Like exactly what you're talking about. Like when you grow up, you're supposed to be an adult. You're not supposed to have fun. You're not supposed to do this. You're supposed to be, when you go to a friend's house or a birthday party, if you see the children running around, they don't care. Like they're just out there having a great time, like putting themselves out there, And I've recently stumbled upon like this kind of insight where, why don't we do that as adults? Like, why is it that we have to be so serious all the time? Why can't we have fun? Like, I just got a skateboard. I'm 38 years old. I just got a longboard for my birthday because it helps me get into flow states. It helps me be more creative. And when I'm doing it, I feel like a kid. I feel young. I feel, I don't feel 38. I feel like I'm connecting with, the universe. I feel like I'm putting some great energy out into the world, and I encourage my kids to play, just play. And if it's, I don't care if it's video games, like I'll go down, like I really do not like some of the video games out there, but I do it because my son wants me to play with him. So I do it. And then when I'm playing with him, it's like I'm just being a kid, just immersing myself in that reality and just connecting with him on a whole different level. And then that just, why do we have to be so serious? I don't know if that resonates with you or not, but
I love it because I agree. So I had to grow up in a way, but not in the true sense of growing up as Carl Jung and this Western beautiful depth psychology speaks about, but I had to grow up in the sense of being serious as well. So I became very serious. And though I skateboarded and I surfed, it was all so serious. Like I had to be better than so-and-so. I had to surf bigger waves. I was super competitive. So I was not having fun. I was competing with others or with myself at all times. And so that's not the true play. And I just learned to play recently, actually, to tell you the truth. And I find myself more playful than ever. And what happens that in this journey of self-discovery, you finally recover your true mother, which is not our biological mother, but that archetypal, primordial mother that is the womb of all humans and all life here on earth and beyond. So when you discover her and that we are always in her womb, we're always in the pulse, she's always pulsating life, and we're always nurtured and we always have shelter, then we can relax. And then not just her, but when we find the divine father. So for me, it was very difficult to believe in God, because as a child, God was not there when my mother was really having a difficult time with 4 children to raise on her own, when my father was not there, and he was having a very difficult time. So I found myself really lonely and just anguished. So why would I believe in this God that the church spoke about? And the church was strong in Chile. It was married to the government, actually. So it was part of the state. So then in my shamanic initiations and in this quest for who I am, really, I realized that I also had to find this archetypal father. And when I found this archetypal father and I started feeling truly protected, then what happens afterwards is you finally arrive to the sacred marriage within. So here we're speaking archetypically. What does it mean archetypically? It means universal, that applies to every single human being. So these energies and images are deep in our subconscious mind, and they come up in our dreams, are truly applies to every single person. The fact that we don't feel it, it might mean that we're disconnected, but doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So once we find that divine mother, divine father, and we experience that sacred marriage, the way I see it, then our child, inner child, that is always there, even if we're 80 years old, can really come out and play, can relax, because the parents are there to take care of everything. And just to finish, the mother energy is the one that knows how to make a nest, how to keep the hearths warm in the home, knows how to create home so we can really rest there. And then the father energy is the one that knows how to make it in the outer world, and then that is skillful out there, and then we can truly relax too. Then we come out and play for real. And
yeah, buddy.
Yeah, so,
I love that you surfed. I love that you surfed and you skateboarded. You actually got sponsored too. That's pretty insane. I mean, you must have been pretty good. Talk about snowboarding. And snowboarding. Snowboarding. I mean, you're just seriously right up my alley. But talk about that, right? So you came to the US, you were just traveling, you were going to school, journalism, right? And you got married. You talk about that in the book. Your first marriage was I mean, you weren't totally happy. But you started finding yourself then, right? Like, I mean, what was it that kind of awakened this journey for you? Like, I mean, I feel like people Was it like Maslow's hierarchy of needs where you reach a certain point and you start looking for that self-actualization? Was there an event that sparked this journey for you? What was it for you?
Yes. So what I realized from this perspective now, many years later, is that I grew up so insecure about my surroundings. I grew up feeling so unsafe that I started building up like that masculine outer protection, like get strong. Like I'll be so strong, nobody can harm me anymore. So I started pursuing this adventure sport, and I was super crazy because in a way I wanted to prove myself and the world that I could be I could make it out there. Mm-hmm. Imagine that when I started studying journalism, I wanted to be a war correspondent. I want to be in between the bullets because I wanted to become bulletproof. So, and so I wanted to be stronger than my two brothers that used to beat me up. And I wanted to be stronger than all the boys around me. So I was actually training as a triathlete, and then I became into adventure sports. And that's what took me to the US. I said, I'm going to surf the whole Pacific coast from California to Chile. And then is when I met my children's father at that point. And then I ended up marrying him and staying in the US with him. And he was a very tough person. He was a great sportsman too. And that was our like deep bond in the beginning. And it happened exactly what it needed to happen. I found someone that was stronger than me somehow. And I have to say that he became an abusive person. And I was abused physically, emotionally, and psychologically, so hard. And then that was my turning point. That was it, because I couldn't rely on my physical strength when I was 8 months pregnant, 9 months pregnant, when I had two little babies. I couldn't rely on that physical brute force that I had developed. So it was like, okay, so that's when you start wondering, okay, so what's my true strength really? And it was at that point in the ground, broken, surrendering to even death. I was like, okay, might as well die right now because I don't know what to do. And I think that's a huge, powerful archetypal point for all people when we finally come face to face with an illness or something very difficult in our lives, a crisis. And we just say, okay, this is too much. I don't know how to handle it. I surrender. And that's huge.
When did shamanism come into that, right? Like, I think, was it word of mouth? I'm trying to remember the story. Was it something that introduced you to that, where you went and took a seminar?
So right at that point, I said, I surrender. I was looking at which cliff I should drive down with or without my kids, because I really wanted to die. And at that point, I stopped by a grocery store. There was an ad for soul retrieval, a soul retrieval class by the Dr. Alberto Villoldo and the Four Winds Society. And I said, I have no idea what it is, but if I'm going to die, might as well try this last thing. So I signed up, and there I received as a gift, like, it's amazing when you finally surrender at that moment. Sometimes just you are gifted with something that saves your life. So for me, it was in that class, and Dr. Villoldo at that point wanted to demonstrate a destiny retrieval. So here is when we start becoming very shamanic. What is a destiny retrieval? It's just a truly amazing process, because he journeyed to the world of possibilities. And how do they do this? Shamans in the Andes taught him that he could follow a thread, a golden and silver thread to the fifth world, they call it. So it's fascinating, their cosmology. In the upper world, there's a level of consciousness that they say is like for the stone people. because they're very animistic shamans. So even stones have life and they breathe, and they're very slow, but they have consciousness. So then you go through the level of plant people, then animal people, and these are all levels of consciousness. So finally, you are in the fifth world, where we are tapping into the possibilities for our future. And here, so the true shaman, he did a true shamanic job of going there and looking what was possible for me in the mess I found myself. Like I was so entangled and I was in such a mess, but is there a way out for Marcela? Is there anything positive for her in the future? Does she have a future here on earth? And he found it. And what he explained to the class at that moment is like, sometimes this is only 2% probable, but as long as it's possible, you can bring it. So there was like a 2% probability of me having a great destiny. Everything else said more misery, more abuse, more just disempowerment, more of the same. More of the same of my mother's life and grandmother's life and not finding my voice, more of the same stuff that all my ancestors went through. So 2% possibility of a bright, amazing destiny. And that's what he brought for me. And shamanically, how he did it, he brought that energetically and blew it into my body through one of the, maybe the audience knows about chakras already, but energy centers through my solar plexus. And it was just night and day what happened after that, because I felt like there was a halo of light protecting me. And seriously, I did come from a Western mind that studied journalism and science and history, and all of a sudden I'm experiencing this. So this is not something I was believing, but I was having an experience of. And that light sustained me and helped me like take the next step, which is like, I'm going to follow this path and keep experiencing this transformation.
Yeah, but I mean, that was a brave thing to accept, right? I mean, once you feel that light, right? Like, I feel like once you feel that light, your heart chakra too vibrates, and you feel that. I feel it a lot with some of the things that I do. It points me in the direction that I need to go. That's how I know I'm on my path, because I mean, like some of the great minds out there say, when you're on your path, you don't know what you don't know where you're going. Like, it's your path. You're making your path. You're not following anyone else. Right. When I speak to people like you or psychics or, shamans or anyone who are experiencing higher levels of consciousness, that lights me up, that my heart vibration is on fire. And I know that that is a mile marker for me, that I need to keep doing this work and keep finding out for myself who I truly am, because it's what we're here to do. We're here to reconnect with the higher source, the higher consciousness, and learn about what great powers we have inside of ourselves. And I'm like you, where I come from a Western world where everything is external, everything, happiness, comes from a job, success, cars, houses, materialism, clothes. You got to have the best of the best, and a competition amongst your peers to be the best. And it was not a thought of mine that I had this power inside of me, right? This, I'm still learning about that. I'm still connecting with that. But when I can get into meditation, when I can get into moments of silence, I connect with my higher self, and the wisdom and the truth that I experience, I can't read out of a book. I can't find it anywhere else. It resonates with me, and it empowers me to be my best version of myself. And it gives me confidence, and it gives me power, and it gives me love. Like today, before I had this conversation with you, I'm meditating, getting right, because I want to be able to present the best version of myself and present the material in your book in a way that will connect with my audience. And my higher self is just come from a place of peace and love, and it will take care of the rest. That's it. That's all you have to do. And that gets me right. It gets me like set up for this conversation. I get in a really good high vibration, high energy level, and then I can connect with my guests like yourself. And then, because your message in this book is so powerful, like, it's because when you went down that path, you were in a marriage, you were in a position where you didn't feel like you had strength. You were literally deciding death at a certain point. And then this universal sign comes to you and you go down that path, but you're still married to a man that is physically abusing you and you have 2 children. That is brave, because now it's you're going outside of your comfort zone into the unknown, pursuing something that is a light. And a lot of people, I feel like, are in the same position where they receive signs from the universe, but they're scared to go towards it because of the things like, being in a marriage or in a job or having children, and they don't have the confidence to go after that. What do you say to them to help them go into the unknown, to take another step into that direction?
Read my book.
Well, I have. I mean,
Yeah, I would encourage everyone that feels that is in that place to really, make that effort to read my book, and especially that chapter 6, because I love what you said about, like, when we are living an epic life and we're following in our hearts, in a way we have to walk our unique path, and we don't know exactly what's around the corner. So when we want to have everything for sure and secure, then we are not living from a place of courage. Like, we really have to step into courage, and the word courage is so connected to core, which is corazón, heart. So, like, I love what you say, like listening to our hearts, and it's difficult because we have been trained for generations and generations to, the scientific world, to believe only what logic says and linear thinking. So it's a big one. But if we can listen when there's a whisper in our lives that says, okay, there's something more fulfilling for you in this lifetime, why don't you go and find what that is? And then you can go easy. You can, it's like a plane. You can go in a Boeing, in a big jet, in a big Boeing 777 or so forth, and make a very slow and steady turn in your life, so your drink doesn't spill and you don't get all dizzy and all that stuff. My turn was so rapid and I spilled everything. I lost my husband. I lost
you lost your children for a bit too, right?
Also, everything. I lost everything because I got to the point of crisis. So when we are in crisis, when we wait too long to hear that voice, to say yes to that path, sometimes we manifest an illness or really something big that makes us lose a lot. So I encourage everybody to start listening while you can make the changes slowly with your situation, planning, and so forth, because it's going to be less painful. And it's very painful when you lose it all at once. Sure. And nevertheless, but it's necessary to die to whom we have been, so whom we need to become can be born. We can give space to whom we truly are, whom we really need to become. So
that's powerful right there. The one thing I did like about your book, and I'm sorry, I want to say this before I forget, is how you talked about you were not going to be able to be the mom that took the kids to soccer practice, to the birthday parties, because of the distance, right? Because they spent time with their dad and then they came and spent time with you. And then you were just on a different mission. Like, your quest is something different. You weren't that traditional mom. But what I love about it, and I'm paraphrasing here, is like that you were, even though you felt guilty about it, not being that mom, you were showing them that you were being brave and showing them how to go after their dreams and how to go after the things, their universal calling. Am I nailing that? Am I off? Like, I felt like that was in the book, but how do you look at that now? Right? Like, looking back at the book and seeing, your journey, and because I know I feel guilty too, right? Like, when I'm doing things that are for my cause, and I feel guilty about not spending a lot of time with my children because it's pulling me away in a different direction. I can relate to you on that. Like, but I'm also trying to teach them that they need to go after their dreams, that they need to go after the thing that they love and pursue that. And it's okay. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And at the end of the day, the kids really pick up our feelings and not just, so I feel like quality relationship over quantity is actually crucial, because we all know people that had a dad or a mom that was home all day, but that mom or dad was very just imposing their own unfulfilled dreams on their kids, and that can be so harmful. So in my case, though I had miserable nights crying, anguished while I was away, I always asked deep in my heart, am I doing the right thing? And I always had that yes. And as long as I heard that yes in my heart, I just kept going. And yeah, my kids missed me, but today they're 24 and 22, and they are also pursuing their dreams. And we have an amazing relationship that's beyond mom and kids. We're friends. They're like super good friends. So
we'll talk about the Mother Mary story, because that connects with us, right?
Thank you. So I was in Paris teaching, by the way, Dr. Alberto Villoldo. I say doctor because back then he was Dr. Alberto Villoldo. Eventually, we became partners. So that's another thing that is powerful, like a powerful energy is love. When you fall in love, you can move mountains too. So that was an aspect in my own journey. But I started traveling with him and teaching with him, and learning and teaching with him. And I would miss my kids, as I said. And eventually I did move to Chile, and my sister was their surrogate mother when I was gone. But I remember being in Paris, taking a little 3-day vacation there, and going into Notre Dame, the beautiful cathedral, like a tourist, not expecting anything, just really curious about the architecture. And as I went in, I was overtaken by the energy there, the sacredness. So I was just walking around, mesmerized by what I was feeling more than what I was seeing. And eventually I made it to this sculpture in which I think was Mother Mary holding Jesus. And I heard her voice, and I just started crying, and I heard her voice saying, I'm with you, and I'm with your children. Because I kind of pray without words at that moment. I say, if anybody knows that the love of a mother to a son is you, mother of all children. So at that moment, I felt the biggest urge to do my communion. I had been baptized at 13 years old, but never went to church after that. And they started giving the communion at that point, and I just went like in trance, and I got online and I received my communion with the mother. And after that, I just knew she always would be there with me and with my children. And this was a shamanic experience, because I never believed in this Mother Mary that the church presented, but I experienced her. So I think that shamanism gives you that, is that experience of the beyond, more than believing. It's not about believing on anything. So really, truly, my message would be, it's not about believing in anything that anybody says, but truly what you experience is a good compass.
Yeah, life is subjective. I mean, experiencing Jesus is subjective. I mean, the archetypes, right? When I meditate, I have visions with Jesus, because that's what I wouldn't say comfortable with. That's what I was raised with. That's Jesus. in the church. So when I do it, when I meditate, I have him, he comes to me and we have a conversation, but it's very subjective. It's not like I say this all the time because I don't understand. I want people to understand for me how powerful it is. So I'll have a conversation with Jesus and I'll tell him, I love you. And he'll say to me, and I've written down in my meditation journal, he'll say, well, if you love me, then you love yourself because you and I are the same. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And some people don't know how to take that because they want to put Jesus on a pedestal. They want to put, he is the Son of God. He is, he is God. And his message to me is that we're all that. We are the same as him, that we just don't know our power. We don't realize the power that is inside of us. And he's like, Trey, you've worshiped me your entire life, but you never loved me. And I'm like, and I'm taken back by that. I'm like, how do I not love you? And he's like, because you don't love yourself. And that's one thing I struggle with is I don't love myself enough. I'm too hard on myself. I need to strengthen that self-love for me. And then when I can love myself fully and unconditionally, that opens me up to other aspects of self, to other people, to Jesus. And then I can fully love like him. But that, you're right, subjective. It's all what makes you feel good in your heart. That is what Jesus says to me. But I can also have a meditation with Buddha, and he can say things to me that mean a lot to me too. But I tell people, it doesn't matter if you think it's too boohoo, whatever it may be. Esther Hicks, it doesn't matter. Paul Selig, it's all, they do channeling, shamanism, whatever makes you feel good. It is all right. Everything is leading you to that point where the universe wants you to pick up and start going after that quest. It's all pushing you in that direction. Whatever fires your heart up, whatever makes you feel that vibration, that power, that energy, doesn't matter what it is. As long as it makes you feel good, that is the way.
Yes, thank you, Trey. And I think I connected with what you said about not loving yourself fully. I know, I mean, you there's definitely, I feel your love to yourself, your children, your family, your home, your work. I feel a lot of love from you, actually, to be embodied in this life. I'm sorry if I'm misinterpreting, but it's what I'm sensing here.
I love it.
Great. But I think where a lot of us, where we actually find like a blockage somehow is when and this is what depth psychology helped me see, is when we run into our shadow. So this is so important to learn to love ourselves completely and fully and all the way, when we accept that we all humans have aspects of us that makes us ashamed or make us feel guilty or make us feel incomplete or so forth. And the quest to self with uppercase S, to self-discovery, self-realization, toward higher self, and all of that is exactly that, accepting not only what makes us really powerful and luminous and infinite and expansive and heartful and fun and all of that, but even more difficult sometimes for some people is to accept the part of us that makes us feel insecure, ashamed, not enough, guilty, and all the emotions that brings us somehow down. And this is so beautiful because these emotions can bring us down. And when I say that, I feel the earth down. And this is where I feel like we have some work to do in our spirituality, in this Western world where we're taught to look up the heavens and only find God in the heavens. So in this shamanic a message, I want to say that we must also go down to what makes us feel vulnerable. And then the more we really allow ourselves to go down, down, down to that vulnerability, we finally are going to find the divine feminine, the mother that is always holding us when we are feeling not powerful enough, not beautiful enough, not smart enough. We're going to find the love of the mother who's always there. And this is a different mythology. Before, the mythology of the god in the skies was the mythology of the goddess. And the difference, the huge difference, is that the goddess is not separated somewhere else from her creation. So she gives birth to the earth and to everything that lives in the earth, and she's holding everything in her womb. So, and the shamanic traditions, earth traditions, never lost that connection. So back to the beginning, that's what we lost as in our spirituality in the West, is that connection to the mother that we cannot, even if we want it, be separate from, because our bodies belong to her. This earth, these minerals, these bones, this blood is all Mother Earth. Without Mother Earth, I don't exist in this life. I can exist as consciousness. So, so I really feel that it's super important to get to know what the shadow is. So the shadow is this place where we put everything that we do not want to see about ourselves because it's too painful, hurtful, shameful, and so forth. So we hide it. We hide it from ourselves, but also from others. And it really drains our energy when we're trying to show a face that is not our totality, when we're like, okay, I'm so great, I'm so fantastic, I'm always happy, I'm always the best, I am always shining, I am so bright, like the moon in the full moon, then that's exhausting, absolutely exhausting. So for me, a huge liberation and freedom came when I was brave enough once to start seeing with my eyes wide open and my heart wide open to all the places in which I still feel not complete and not good enough. And then just be honest, radically honest with myself, and then slowly but surely be radically honest with the world. And in that, it means I don't know everything. I'm not always happy. I do experience my cycles. We're all cyclical. So I do have days of dark moon and like the moon, full, dark. And that brings a lot of freedom, I think, when we can tap in, accept, embrace, and love all aspects of ourselves.
Can you talk a little bit about it's like, the different directions? It was like the compass, like the north, south, east, and west, like the animals that it's associated with, the east and the west and north and south. I think the hummingbirds, and you have a great parable about the hummingbird in there, the jaguar. You have a really cool experience with that. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Great, thank you. So I feel like all the isms like shamanism, Buddhism, all the religions and everything, they're amazing vehicles. They're amazing cosmologies that help us navigate and gives us tools and guide us and everything. So from the shamanic perspective, I was offered this medicine wheel, which is a compass to visit these different aspects of life. But what's really cool and very shamanic, actually, is that this compass works with these spirits, like maybe in North America that you would say totems. So the spirit of these animals and like the archetype, the whole spirit. So on the south direction, because the medicine wheel points at the 4 directions and teaches you how to go through it, and that's your journey of alchemy, going through each of the directions. So in the south is the serpent, the spirit of the great mother serpent, which is life force, and the serpent teaches you how to actually recognize your true vitality, your true essence, your true energy, and teaches you how to drop that story, that narrative that we all carried. I am today like this because, and we have 100 reasons why we are the way we are. And the serpent says, okay, shed that story the way I shed my skin all at once. Just honor your story, honor that the fact that it brought you to this point right here, right now, but let it go so you can free yourself to be who you need to become again. So in shamanism, you are sourcing, you learn to source more from your destiny than from your past. You honor your ancestors, you honor everything you have gone through, but then you really start co-creating. You start dreaming your world into being, as we say. So serpents say, okay, shed that story, become who you are truly in your new skin right now, not who you were 10 years ago. So then Jaguar, which is an amazing being, and I had the privilege to see the spirit of Jaguar in the jungle, as you read in the book, Trey, how actually the spirit showed up for me in three-dimensional shape and form, and this was one of my big shamanic initiations. It jumped inside of me, and the shamans say that you acquire the Jaguar body. So I have the Jaguar body with me. So Jaguar teaches you how to do exactly what we're talking about, which is have the courage to look in the dark, in your shadows, in the dark, those places that are filled with demons and collective demons and society, everything that society doesn't want to see, and your own demons and your own fears and insecurities and so forth. So then you can become, as they say in this tradition, a luminous warrior. And the luminous warrior is the one that is not depending on the light out there, the light that others are shining, but you learn to cultivate your own light. And you can be in the dark because what you have been saying, Trey, you have found your light in your heart, that power, that energy in your heart. So that's the way of the luminous warrior. So you can be in any situation, but as long as you have your own light with you, you're going to stay centered. You're going to make it through. You're not going to be blown away. You're not going to collapse into terror and so forth. So,
well, it's hard. It's hard to live, right? Like once you find that and once you start going down this path, it's hard to live in this mechanism that we live in, this societal mechanism of everything we just talked about, the West, all the materialism. Like it's hard to like the hardest thing for me, and I don't know if people listening to this will ever resonate with this or not, but like having conversations with people and trying to like falling back into those old patterns of competition, being competitive, or talking about water cooler talk, just it's hard for me. So like I spend a lot of time by myself because I enjoy that, because I know the direction that I want to go, and I know that the more that I connect with source, the more that I connect with Mother Gaia, the more that I connect with my spirituality, that's the growth, right? Like I don't know if you experience this, but it's hard to like come back to like society sometimes. I know that I think you have like you live in Chile and you have like your own, I guess, like place there that you kind of surround yourself with the same like-minded people. But I don't know if you ever, when you venture back to the States or you venture out to society, like do you ever experience like how tough it is to be like back into the machine?
Yes, absolutely. It's collapsing. It's like feels like it's like you're all that energy that you build and you're feeling expansive and peaceful. All of a sudden, that is challenged, and it feels like it's collapsing you, and just upheaval inside and so forth. So I think it's so valuable and important to cultivate tools, and whatever those are for each person. So I hear you saying that you meditate, and that's something I also do, like find a place of stillness and contemplation. So everything kind of like, I love the metaphor of the mud when you meditate. It's like water. And then if you're still, all that all that dirt that is in the murky water just settles down. And then your mind is like that. So the mind can see again. We can see it's like the sun shines again. The skies are blue instead of everything murky and confusing and overwhelming. So it is so important. I love meditation. And here again, see, that's one of the gifts from the Eastern traditions, the contemplative and meditative traditions. So from whatever tradition we resonate with that can give us those tools is so crucial.
You also talked about dreaming into reality, bringing things from dreams, or bringing your dreams into reality, I should say. Is that like another form of law of attraction, or is that like literally bringing your dreams into reality, this plane?
So we know that if we have negative thoughts, and I love the experiments of Dr. Masaru Emoto, remember, with the water?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's proven or not, but that's just the idea. It's wonderful that that if you put a vibration of love or good thoughts, then the water crystallizes
It's differently. Yeah. So people that don't know that, your vibration, your thoughts, your happiness, and you just look at water. You have 2 glasses of water essentially, or and if you want to do a double blind experiment, just have one person have happy thoughts towards this water, and then the other person in another room have negative thoughts, and then you freeze it, and then the two glasses of water or whatever will have totally different types of like crystallization, right? That's what you're talking about, right?
Absolutely. So the crystals, like the good vibration, they give you this like perfect like snow that has perfect little sparkles, and the other ones have very droopy, unformed, not harmonic, crystals. So, and we are water. How much are we water inside the body? 70% or
70%.
so. Yeah.
Isn't it crazy thinking like 70% of us, like water is boiling water sometimes during the day? Like you go to the kitchen, water's boiling water.
Exactly. So that's how we are putting into our lives whatever we are creating in our minds. And that's what the shamans learned, that we, with our thoughts, our feelings, are creating. And we have heard about this self-fulfilling prophecy, something so archetypal that if you are always expecting the worst, then you're gonna manifest the worst. So we are either dreaming a nightmare into being, or we are dreaming a beautiful and expansive dream into being.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know people are very negative, how they end up creating very negative lives, and the other way around. And to finish up the medicine wheel and the archetypes, in the North, we work with hummingbird. So after jaguar comes hummingbird. And hummingbird, it has an amazing instinct for flowers, nectar. So we might have an instinct for problems, for toxic relationships, and for the wrong place at the wrong time, and so forth. So working with this archetype, you actually start resetting your instinct, and all of a sudden you start finding flowers, colors, beauty, and just start seeing like an artist where the beauty is. And then finally, in the east direction, we work with the eagle, or in South America, condor, which is the big bird that can see with great perspective. So we might get this encouraged in our lives when we find an obstacle. Oh, this is too big of an obstacle. I don't know if I can keep going on that direction. But what's wonderful about the eagle or condor is that if you ride on their wings, if you work with them, you find out that there are no obstacles, really, only opportunities to fly higher, to see with better perspective, to be more creative. So it's
that.
all an opportunity to grow. Yeah.
Well, you talk about that in your book where you went to your Ram Dass is always I love his lectures and his videos. He's like, if you want to find out how spiritual you are, just spend a week with your family.
Yeah.
And you did that. You went and spent Christmas with your family, your husband's family, and you talk about to a point where you had to go meditate, and you talked about where your being left your body and you went and ventured out. Is that part of your meditation where you experience yourself, like that awareness leaving yourself, and you can actually go out and imagine and create yourself like flying through the air?
Yes. So in these shamanic initiations that I had, I learned to work with these four animal spirits, like I said, and that's what we teach in our school, the Four Wind Society. And also in the same school, but in Spanish, Los Cuatro Caminos. But so I, all the time, every day, when I want to see things from a different perspective and not from where I'm trapped, because we're used to like being in one level of vision and perception. And when we find ourselves in a situation, we need to see it from below, from above, from another point of view. So these animals help us see, like the serpent sees like belly to belly with the earth. Like you feel texture. Is this too hot for me? Is this too cold for me? Is this too rough for me? Is this soft? It's like Goldilocks, what's just the happy medium. So it helps us reset our instinct in that way to what's the right place for us. And then Jaguar is always like, okay, what's behind? Yeah, this is what appears to be, but what is behind what appears to be? Nothing is only what appears to be. And then the hummingbird is like, okay, everything has an opportunity. Everything has beauty somewhere. Find the beauty in it. So, and then, like I said, with eagle or condor, like transcend it all. So I use them to, depending on a situation. For example, if I'm hiring someone and I need to know if they're the kind of people I need for the job, I ask my Jaguar to track. It's like, this person lying? Is this person saying the truth? What kind of person is this? So my Jaguar smells. Okay, this person is breathing too fast, is transpirating too much, sweating too much, he's lying, or he's making things up, or he's nervous, or whatever. So that's the shamanic aspect of my initiation. These and a few other things that gave me these extra ways of relating to the world.
I love it. I love everything about this conversation. I love the book. I love your stories in it. I love your energy. How can people find out more about you?
Thank you, Trey. Well, easiest thing is to go to my website, my name, Marcela with one L, Lobos.com. And I lead journeys to have shamanic experiences when we're not in lockdown, of course. In Peru, in the Andes, also to my home country in Chile. And I do teach also abroad in Europe and the US when we can travel. But otherwise, I also hold a lot of programs and online these days, virtually. So you can find my schedule in my website. And I am really, really grateful for everybody that
I know I'm grateful for you for coming on here, because you definitely took me to school. Last question, kind of big. Marcela, what do you want your legacy to be?
My legacy, wow. Wow. Someone that dared to live out of the box. And here is again, what I realized once again is all these isms are amazing containers, but as long as they're still containers, they're boxes. They're huge boxes, but they're still boxes. So what I realize is that the bravest thing is to, yes, absolutely honor all your gurus and people that show you the way, the people that have walked before you, honor the traditions that have been pouring their hearts out to create sacred texts that you can read and be inspired and remember who we are. I honor deeply all of that. I get on my belly to honor all of that, and I kiss the ground to honor everybody that came before me. But I feel like the truly mystical, shamanic, or whatever thing to do is to dare to be exactly who you are beyond anything that anybody else thinks you should be, and that takes a lot of courage, because you feel the judgment around, and we want to eat and we want to be loved. So it takes a lot of bravery to be exactly who you are, because we all want to belong and be loved and accepted. So that's
it's wired into our DNA, you know.
Yeah.
The individuals die, you know, because that's how we hunters and gatherers, that's how we lived. And now you live when you're in packs. But Marcela, this has been amazing. I can't thank you enough. Thank you for writing your book. Thank you for being very, making yourself vulnerable and doing that. I really connected with it and it resonated with me. And I cannot thank you enough for coming on.
Thank you, Trey. I honor for what you're doing and reaching out so many people with your work and your sincerity as well. So thank you so much for having me.